Speaking at the Mahindra and Mahindra's annual general meeting recently, its chairman Anand Mahindra said one of the key reasons for the long waiting period for delivery of vehicles is the supply chain disruption. In his words, the availability of semiconductors had slowed down to a trickle. Caused by pandemic supply chain disruption, combined with stronger than expected demand recovery, the global chip shortage over the past 2 years is refusing to go away. India's biggest car maker Maruti Suzuki said it could not produce 51,000 units in the April to June quarter because of this. And according to the second largest car maker Hyundai India, which expects the semiconductor situation to improve only next year, the demand is outstripping the supply. In the April to June quarter, the domestic passenger vehicle sales stood at 9.1 lakh units, a 41% growth compared to 6.46 lakh units last year. PV sales are on track to touch a new record this fiscal, beating their FY19 peak. But the geopolitical fallout of a top US official's visit to China-Taiwan earlier this month is threatening to prolong the chip shortage. US House Speaker and longtime China critic Nancy Pelosi's visit was the highest level US visit to the self-governing island democracy in 25 years. Her one-day trip worsened the tensions between China and Taiwan. An outraged China reacted by launching its biggest ever military drills in the seas around Taiwan, which is home to the world's biggest contract manufacturer of semiconductors, TSMC, and its peer, UMC. They are major suppliers to global tech giants, auto companies, and producers of consumer electronics. TSMC alone makes 80% of microcontrollers used in cars. China's military exercises, which include firing live missiles and deploying fighter jets, bombers, and warships around Taiwan, disrupted key trading routes for cargo and commodities sailing around the world. For the first time, the Chinese army practiced operations aiming at a blockade of the island. China suspended exports of natural sand to Taiwan and halted imports of fruit and fish products from the island. Quartz sand, a type of natural sand, is an important raw material for chip manufacturing. On August 10th, China's military said exercises held on Taiwan in response to Pelosi's visit had concluded while pledging to continue regular patrols near the island.
Start of this current calendar year, say early January, February, we started seeing some kind of ease out, particularly with respect to the chips. Yes, as we speak, these are set of new challenges which have been built up. It's largely, the kind of intimidation or the power which one country would like to exercise on the other. And it puts a larger amount of threat on the semiconductor manufacturing industry. There are going to be multiple effects with respect to the supply chain ease of the semiconductors in the short to midterm. When I say short to midterm, our internal assessment says that it will take 2 to 3 quarters minimum for the things to get eased out. Does it mean that in India, when it comes to automotive as a sector, we'll keep on struggling? My answer would be yes. See, with the upcoming festive season coming up, a lot of these car makers or the OEMs would be kind of putting a lot of pressure on the dealers to stack the inventory. So the backlog which we are seeing will get refilled in the subsequent months. That's what our assessment says. So that the people who had done their bookings earlier or the demand which will come up during the festive season is to a larger extent will get met out. The backlog will continue to go up over the next 2-3 quarters. Production capacity may not be optimally utilized.
The Indian Cellular and Electronics Association estimates that foundries in Taiwan account for more than 75% of the chips that mobile devices made in India need. The number is slightly lower at 60% if one considers all chips, those of consumer electronics, PCs, laptops, automobiles, etc. With the festive season coming up, how are India's smartphone manufacturers placed amid the latest geopolitical tensions?
Taiwan is obviously very important for the world and even for India, even for China. China obviously knows that when they are trying to put the blockades, that their imports for these things will be hurt there. So I think they are aware of the fact. Quartz is a very important thing. This can actually hinder some of the supplies and actually reduce some of the supplies. It's going to be problematic if this goes on, if there's no solution for the next 3-4 weeks. Supply situation has been becoming quite okay in the past 2-3 quarters, to the extent that right now the ceiling is being put by the demand contraction, not by the supply, which was unlike for the past 2 years. So to that extent, most of the brands are okay with supply of chipsets or the component leading up to the festival season. And you have to remember that almost 2/3 of the India smartphone market is still with the Chinese. They'll also lobby that we can't do that. It's a loss of revenue from an important market like India as well. Will this be price increase? Absolutely, it can be there because of the input cost increase, the assembly cost increase in India. So logistics has gone, fuel has gone up. So price increase has been happening. We are at the highest ASP ever. It's a catch-22 for the brands. They were expecting actually to clear off a lot of inventory which is lying in for some of the models. They were expecting that a lot of affordability schemes will come in.
For the smartphone industry, a slowdown in demand is the bigger challenge. India's smartphone shipments fell 1% in the first half of 2022. World chip sales growth has also been declining for 6 straight months. Semiconductor sales rose 13.3% in June, down from 18% in May, according to the World Semiconductor Industry Association. A chip shortage will, however, hobble the automotive industry for a few more quarters. Having said that, experts believe a blockade on Taiwan's exports or widening of sanctions to cover semiconductors is unlikely, as it is also not in the interest of China, given its heavy reliance on Taiwan for advanced chips.
If you like this video, share it and subscribe to Business Standard. For more news, views and insights, log on to www.business-standard.com. Do also follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Telegram and LinkedIn.
क्या हाल?
मत पूछ यार,
फिर से स्टॉक्स में फंस गया।
तो स्टॉक्स के साथ बॉन्ड्स, इंश्योरेंस, गोल्ड में बैलेंस कर।
इसमें बहुत तामझाम है।
तुझे 5 पैसा नहीं पता?
अब तो सबको पता है। 5 पैसा है ऑल इन वन अकाउंट। डाउनलोड 5 पैसा नाउ।
अब तो सबको पता है। Investing made easy and rewarding with 5 Paisa. Investments in securities market are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.